Hey, and welcome back to Knit Your Stress Away, your podcast all about knitting and sometimes even crocheting for stress relief. My name is Nadine Medina, and today we're starting a fun series here on the podcast for the month of July called the Summer Throwback series. I'm going to bring back some episodes that have been downloaded quite often in the last year and a half. That is how long this podcast has now been around, which is so exciting. And I really want to thank you all so much for tuning in every week and listening to this podcast. I truly hope that it is helping you in small or big ways every week, and that you are enjoying your knitting time even more because you're listening to this podcast. And I'm super excited to bring back a few episodes during the course of July that have been really fun to record, but also really helpful to a lot of people, as I heard from them in podcast reviews, but also on Instagram for feedback. So I'm glad to be able to bring these back. And there are also a few interviews in there that I'm bringing back with some designers and some other people who are bringing really cool things to the knitting world. So I hope you get excited about this. Today's episode is the ultimate mindset shift, how to make time for yourself without feeling guilty, something that we all probably need to be reminded of as we go through the summer. And I'm just so excited for you to dive in. One little word of caution. There may be some links that I'm mentioning in these coming episodes that are a few months or some even a few more months old that may not be working anymore. You can find everything that I offer to help you, free downloads and a knitting beginner's guide, a headband workshop for knitting your first headband. You can find every single thing that I offer at theknittingmamas.com. You do not need any extra links. That's the one link that you need. I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. But just be aware that some links that I might mention in these throwback episodes are no longer working. So just go to theknittingmamas.com and you should find everything that is available to you. So no more talking on this end. Let's dive right into the original episode number 70 and enjoy. Hi, mamas, and welcome back to Knit Your Stress Away, the podcast all about knitting for stress relief for busy moms. We're in a new year now. Depending on when you listen to this episode, you may be far into the new year or you might just be right at the beginning. But either way, Happy New Year. I'm super excited to be back here with you in 2025 to bring you awesome episodes that will help you start your knitting journey and get you on the path of using knitting as your go-to relaxation tool. So let's dive into today's episode, where we're not talking necessarily about knitting, but we are talking about the ultimate mindset shift that you need to make time for yourself without feeling guilty. Isn't that a great episode to start the year with? Let's dive in. Welcome to Knit Your Stress Away. I am Nadine Medina, a mom who rediscovered knitting during a stressful season and found it to be the ultimate way to relax, recharge, and reconnect with myself. If you're feeling overwhelmed and wondering if there's a creative outlet that could actually help you feel calmer and in more control, you're in the right place. In this podcast, I'll show you how knitting can be a simple stress-busting tool, even if you've never picked up needles before. So take a deep breath, let go of the chaos for a moment, and let's explore how knitting could become your new favorite way to find calm and joy. Can you believe we are in 2025? I'm still kind of figuring out where the heck the last 6 months of my year went, but here we are, and it's January, and in just a few short days, we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Knit Your Stress Away. In the beginning, this podcast was called the Knitting Mamas Podcast, which the brand is still called the Knitting Mamas. But the podcast is now focusing a little bit more on the stress relieving part of knitting and focusing in on people who are new to knitting and want to either learn it, and need support learning it, or those who have maybe done it in the past and it just didn't stick, or it just was something that they kind of didn't really quite get into, and you're ready to do this now. So I'm here for you with that and in the coming year with this podcast. So stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe if you're brand new around here. Welcome, and thank you so much for tuning in. And we're going to do fun little giveaway for the 1-year anniversary of Knit Your Stress Away. And we're going to talk about it all in a little future episode that I'm going to record for you separately so that you know exactly how to enter the giveaway. And also be sure to go over to Instagram if that's where you're hanging out sometimes and follow me there so that you are not missing out on the giveaway that is coming for the 1-year anniversary. You can find us on Instagram at @theknittingmamas_. And let's dive into today's episode. Today we're talking about something that I know that we are all struggling with, or at least have struggled with in the past, and that is guilt. I'm talking about the guilt that comes around the topic of self-care, like the feeling that we get when we do take time for ourselves, or, when we think about taking time for ourselves, but somehow this feeling of guilt, this nagging feeling, is just like standing in the way, or it's making the time that we are taking for ourselves feel a lot less relaxing because it just keeps creeping in. And that's kind of not the point, right? So I feel like there's two sides of this. At least that's it for me. And I don't know if you feel this way too. I would love to have a conversation about it though. But so when I do something for myself, I tend to feel guilty about not doing something else that either needs to be done still or that relates to hanging out with my kids or doing something with them or for them. But there's also a flip side to it that when I do, those other things, I feel guilty for not taking time for myself because I know it's good for me. So it doesn't even matter how I flip the coin, it can always creep in. And I know that I'm not the only one. So today, I want to help you shift that mindset because we all know that the truth is that we deserve this time for ourselves, right? Whether it's reading, knitting, crocheting, sewing, or just nothing, right? Whatever it is that brings you joy. I intentionally did not say scrolling on your phone. Because maybe in the moment it might feel like it brings you joy, but in the long run, you know that that's just counterproductive and it's not something that, will make us feel better, especially if we do it too often. So I did not mention that, but any of those other things that you can name that fire you up, right? It's time to let go of the guilt and step into what I like to call a self-care mindset. And before you think, oh gosh, the word self-care is just like overused, I still use it because it helps me really kind of zone in on the meaning of it. And I really don't care if people have overused it, but I do care about how you define it, right? So let's back up here before I dive into that, because I want to talk about that. I do want to talk about like the meaning of self-care and what you really make of it. But first, let's talk about why is it so important for us moms to take this time for ourselves without feeling guilty. And I do get it. Like most days, it feels like there is literally no room for us, right? It's between work and family and everything else, school and taking kids all over the place. The idea of spending time on ourselves seems sometimes just impossible. But the thing is, when you take the time to care for yourself, even though you might feel like there is no time left, we're going to get to that, you are a better human to be able to care for everyone else around you. And we're going to dive into how you can shift from that, I don't deserve the time for myself mindset to really starting to believe that you actually deserve it. And by the end of this episode, you're going to have 3 practical ways to start making this mindset shift a reality for you. And we've talked about it before. It isn't a one and done, change that you can just kind of like flip the switch on and you're like, yay, by tomorrow, I'm going to believe this. It does take a little bit of time and it does take a couple of tools to use, but it's something that you can definitely work on. And if you trust the process, you can really make a shift. And like I just mentioned in the beginning, I still carry this around too. So it's not like, oh, one day you're just going to be completely, done with it. It just unfortunately doesn't work that way. I wish, honestly. But we've got some strategies that we can use. And if you implement them regularly, that's not to say every day, in the whole spirit of setting goals for 2025, let's not overdo it because then we just not going to do it. And I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about. So let's do little steps at a time and see if we can work them in little by little and also kind of see if they are making a little bit of a shift. And by that, I mean, it can be a really small shift. If you're noticing a little bit of a change and you're like, oh, wow, okay, so instead of my phone, I actually picked up my knitting project and it made me feel so much better to knit for 10 minutes than to scroll my phone for 10 minutes or to scroll social media for 10 minutes. Because really, what are you getting out of that? Maybe if you're lucky, a laugh from a funny reel. But really, most times, what I get out of it is comparison, like somebody doing something that I want to do and I'm not doing. Or this feeling of, oh, wow, those 10 minutes felt like 10 seconds. And where the heck did my time just go? And I feel like these screens are just taking time away from us so much faster, which is also, by the way, this is like a total rant right now, but this is why I feel like even my kids are saying things like, wow, where did the last month go? Or it's already Christmas again? Like, how can this be? And I'm like, I never had those thoughts as a child. I was like, I'm so bored. I don't know what to do. And these guys never say that. So I have a feeling that, the increase of screen time in our lives as a whole has definitely contributed to our feeling of time passing by really quickly. And I am definitely on a mission to slow that down, not just for myself, but also for you guys. So let's start there. Okay. All right, let's talk about this mom guilt that we carry. It's like this invisible weight, right? It pulls us down. And it's either because we feel like there's not enough time or we're not doing enough. We just keep pushing ourselves to the back of the line. But here is the hard truth. If we're running on empty, it's just not sustainable. And of course, and we know this, right? It's not healthy. When you're constantly giving to everyone and you are not taking any time back for yourself where you can recharge, you're going to burn out. And that's not going to serve anybody because not only are you going to be down, but whatever else you're holding up in your home is also going to fall with that. And here, let's talk about the self-care myth for a little bit. It is not just bubble baths and quiet time. Like, that's amazing, right? And I love my weekly bath. You guys heard me talk about it in the episode about essential oils. I love it every week. One bath with some Gilmore Girls. It's my guilty pleasure. I do it. I take the time for it and I don't feel guilty. It's been like that for years. But I do struggle in other areas where I should take more time. And this self-care is so much more. It's about recharging your mental, your emotional, and also your physical energy. And that can come in so many forms. It doesn't always mean, oh, I have to lay down and take a nap, right? It can also mean go on a walk, because a walk, strangely can actually give you more energy, not less. And there's this balance that we have to keep. But we also have to give ourselves the time to do something that we actually love doing. And if that's knitting or something else, it is a way to fill your own cup. And the fuller your cup, the better you can show up for your family, for your work, and for your life in general, and for yourself. And you are just going to feel better showing up for everybody, right? The thing, though, is it's not just about finding the time. You may be finding that time. Maybe you have some time, but you still don't do it. It is about believing that you actually deserve taking that time. And that is the real mindset shift, going from, I shouldn't take this time because there's still other things to do, or I just didn't earn it. Right? That was my problem for the longest time. I'm like, no. I haven't earned it yet. I haven't done enough today so that I can take this time. I have it, technically, right? It's there. I can sit down right now and do something for myself. But I just shouldn't. I shouldn't. And that's, we do this. We should and shouldn't ourselves out of so many things. But we need to shift from I shouldn't take this time or I didn't deserve this time to I need this time and I absolutely deserve it. And I know probably better than a lot of people that that's easier said than done. I struggled with that for so long. And even today, I still have to use all of these little steps that I'm about to lay out for you myself to not fall back into that trap. And even with that, it does happen sometimes. So this is, my public service announcement right here, this episode, to get back into our self-care mindset. But a little intentional practice, and we're all going to get there. So let's talk about the 3 ways that you can start right now to make this mindset shift and to continue making this mindset shift, because we just said it isn't by tomorrow I'm done and I have a total self-care mindset. So if you are struggling with this, take a notepad, jot this down. As a matter of fact, stop what you're doing, unless you're driving, but stop what you're doing right now and sit down. Take 5. Take this time for you, because this is something that you can learn now and implement to make you a better mom, and a mom who actually says, I deserve time to recharge. So we are starting with affirmations. Start your day, or, it doesn't have to be like the beginning of your day. We talk about morning routines all the time here on the podcast as well. It is nice to have it in the morning, because when you can carve out some quiet time early on during the day, it kind of sets you up for a really successful day in that area. But if it doesn't happen in the morning, please don't beat yourself up, because that's like the worst, right? So do it whenever you can. But let's make number 1 daily affirmations. Because to shift your mindset, you need to start rewiring the way that you think, because you have been telling yourself a story for probably a long time that you do not deserve time for yourself, and that there's something that you need to earn, or that you're not enough, or whatever it is, right? And it's going to take some time to undo that belief, because it's very ingrained in our brains. And one of the best ways to start doing that is daily affirmations. So take a few minutes anytime during the day and remind yourself, I deserve time for myself. It sounds so simple, and it's not that you don't know it, but there's a difference between knowing it and believing it, right? So when you're repeating that over and over, it actually rewires your brain. It's called neuroplasticity, and it will eventually sink in as a belief, where you're like, heck yeah, I deserve this time to myself, and I'm taking it. Right now, this might be like, whoa, hang on. There's no way I'm ever going to think that, but it's absolutely true. So you can actually Google it. It is a super interesting field. So here's an example affirmation that you can actually jot down right now if you want to. And what it takes is literally for you to repeat it. So you just write it down in your notebook, and then tomorrow, read it a few times in a row, walk away. Do it a couple of times if you want to. Here's the affirmation. I deserve time to recharge. Taking care of myself allows me to show up as my best self for my family. You can rewind this if you need to. Just pause the episode really quick, write it down, and make this your daily affirmation. You can also put it on a sticky note. You can put it on your phone. You can put it in your knitting journal. In the last episode, we talked about how to create a knitting journal. If you have that open every day, you can put it in your planner, whatever place you have where you see this daily. This affirmation would be a great one. Of course, this is just an example. You do not have to use the one that I just gave you, but you can come up with your own. If you're a user of AI, by any chance, ChatGPT, pop it in there. Say, hey, give me, 5 to 10 positive affirmations that, have to do with guilt-free self-care time for moms. See what it comes up with. And maybe there's some in there that actually speak to you that you're like, oh yeah, I can see myself believe that. Because here's the thing, when you do affirmations and we use them, they can be a little bit, beyond what you currently believe, but they can't be too far off. Because if they're too far off, your brain is just going to shut down and be like, yep, not going to ever believe that, right? So that's going to become counterproductive. So make it something where you're like, okay, I can ease myself into that belief. So again, little by little, small steps, right? Okay. Strategy number 2, schedule your me time like it's non-negotiable, like you would for a doctor's appointment for yourself or for your children, right? This sounds weird, maybe. But when you put it on your calendar, it actually becomes real. It doesn't mean that you're going to do it every time. You probably are going to, especially if you're still struggling in the believing department, you might still say, oh, yeah, you know what? I just don't need to do that right now. I have to do dishes. I have to whatever. And you cross it out. But just having it there in front of you at least makes you think about it every single time. And depending on your mindset on that day, you may actually say, yeah, I did put this here for a reason. Let's sit down and let's read or knit for 15 minutes, right? The point is to make it a to-do or a reminder or an appointment for yourself that you then have to actually negotiate yourself out of, because that is going to take some energy. You could just say, you know what, I'm just going to do this now because I had planned to do this. So you see the difference, right? And it's a small thing, but it really can have a big impact instead of you just saying kind of like an elusive, like, oh yeah, this week I'm going to take more time for myself. Not going to happen. So put it on your schedule and make it small. Make it small. Maybe it's just literally 10 minutes a day. Completely okay. If you're not taking any time for yourself right now, I feel like 10 minutes is luxury, right? But consistency is what matters. Not necessarily the length of time. I feel like that's going to come with time. If you can commit to 10 minutes per day and you actually are doing that, it's probably going to take a week and you're going to add 5 minutes to it, right? So let's start small. Like I said in the beginning, if these steps are doable, you are much more likely to actually do them. And now, number 3, reframe your thoughts when the guilt actually creeps in. So the affirmations are to kind of start reframing your thoughts to begin with, like to kind of lay the groundwork of your belief on a daily basis. So that's just kind of like your maintenance. But when the guilt already creeps in and you're having those thoughts and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting time, or I could be doing something else, or I don't deserve this. I really shouldn't be sitting here and just, doing nothing. First of all, you literally are wasting your time because you're neither doing something productive nor are you relaxing. So that thought is completely counterproductive. But also, you can just in that moment begin to reframe that thought, right? When you feel that, so this is the coolest part about this whole thing, is like, you may not be aware that you're having these thoughts right now, but now that you have listened to this episode or you are listening to it, you may be realizing, oh my gosh, yes, I do have those thoughts. Ooh, okay. Yesterday, when I was trying to sit down, I was actually telling myself, hey, can't do that right now. Better get your booty over here and do the laundry. So it's about awareness a lot. And once you become aware of it, it's going to be a lot easier for you to catch yourself when you have these thoughts, like in the moment. This is going to take a little bit of time, trust me. But there is, it will happen. You're going to be like, oh, okay, hang on. What am I thinking here right now? That's going to be the time when you're going to reframe that thought right there in the moment. You're going to flip the script. And instead of feeling guilty for taking a break, you're going to acknowledge that this break is essential for your well-being. And you can say this to you literally out loud. You don't have to say it out loud if you're feeling weird about it. If somebody's next to you and you're like, hey, I'm, blah, blah, blah. But you can say it in your mind and you can make it real intentional. So, for example, when that guilt pops up and you're like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. You're like, hang on a second, wait a minute. You can literally say stuff in your brain like, thank you so much for reminding me, but taking care of myself is not selfish. It's essential and it makes me a better person. It makes me a better mom, and I am going to take this time for myself right now. I deserve this. And you say that, and then you actually enjoy the next 15 minutes of time for yourself without those other thoughts. It's a small and very subtle shift. But whenever you feel that guilt creeping in, replace it with a positive reason why you need that time for yourself. And over time, this will actually help diminish the guilt and reinforce the mindset shift that you're looking to do or that you're looking to accomplish. It is magical once you actually notice those shifts. And I would love to hear from you about it, by the way. So if you're actually like trying to implement any of these things that I'm talking about here today on the podcast, I would love to either, hear from you in our community. You can head over, if you're not in there yet, It's on Facebook, and you can get the link to the group at theknittingmamas.com/group. And just let us know in there if any of this is working for you, if you've tried it, if you need any more support. Of course, we're here for you. Or you can just let me know on Instagram in a DM. The Instagram handle is at @theknittingmamas_. And I'm going to put the link in the show notes so that you can just click there and connect that way. Super easy. But I do want to remind you before I go that, again, this is not a one and done thing. It's not a, overnight fix. You can't just say, hey, I deserve time for myself once and suddenly all the guilt disappears. It's not how it works. This mindset shift does take time, and it definitely takes repetition. And if there's anything that you're taking away from this episode today, write down your affirmation and repeat it every day. That's it. It's like literally a 2-minute thing that you're adding to your life. And it's about retraining your brain. And it does take patience and persistence, but it's all going to be so worth it. I'm just thinking way ahead, and I'm like, imagine how many things you're going to knit this year with this new mindset. So you can think of it like building a muscle. The more you work on it, the stronger it gets. And it's literally a belief that needs to build. So even if you feel like you're not making progress at first, please stick with it. It may feel weird and redundant, and you might feel like, oh, wow, this is not working at all. But every time you repeat that affirmation or you put the me time in your calendar, you are moving closer to fully believing that you actually deserve this time, and that guilt will start to diminish over time. And please remember, it's all about progress, not perfection, just like in our knitting practice. I mean, knitting can teach us so much, right? Like, I actually just saw a post yesterday where it's like 8 life lessons that knitting can teach us. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. But just be aware that some days the guilt will still be there, even when you feel like you've made a lot of progress. But it, like I just said, it happens to me too, and that is completely okay. But the goal is to keep showing up for yourself, even if it's in small ways. And eventually you can look back and realize, hey, you have completely shifted into a mindset that is about self-care, and you didn't even fully realize it because it's such a subtle shift. But all of a sudden you're like, wow, I really do feel like I'm deserving this. This is amazing. So let's recap real quick. Shifting your mindset from I don't deserve time to myself to I absolutely deserve this time does take daily practice. Start small, simple affirmations, schedule your me time like it's a non-negotiable, and reframe your thoughts the moment the guilt creeps in. And once again, that may be a little bit of a practice in itself. You may not always realize that you're having those thoughts, but when you do, you know what to do, right? You know exactly how to shift your mindset. So just a quick reminder from me to you and to all of us, you deserve time for yourself, mama. And whether that is knitting, reading, or just sitting quiet or do a meditation, take a walk, whatever that is, even a little workout, that time is essential and you're worthy of self-care. And the more you practice believing it, the more it will stick. Keep showing up for yourself, even if it's just a little bit every day. I'm here to encourage you, and I hope that this episode was encouraging and helpful to you. If you feel like somebody else could benefit from it, please just click the share button really quickly, pop it over on Instagram and tag me. I would love to shout you out as well. And if knitting, as a matter of fact, is the thing that you would like to incorporate more into your day as your personal self-care, you can download the free cheat sheet to get started. It's going to give you everything that you need to set yourself up for success for your knitting journey in 2025. And you can just go over to theknittingmamas.com/start to pop in your email address, and then I'm going to send it right to your inbox. I hope this was a good start for you to the new year. I know it definitely was for me. It's always so fun to get pumped up when I just talk about these things. And I wish you a lovely rest of your day, and tune back in here for the next episode on the Knit Your Stress Away podcast. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on today's episode. I hope you're walking away with a bit more inspiration and a few ideas to make your self-care a priority. If today's chat gave you a little boost, I'd love it if you could leave a 5-star review on iTunes. This helps other moms discover the podcast and start finding more calm and creativity in their day as well. And don't forget to join us over in the Knitting Mamas community on Facebook by going to theknittingmamas.com/group. Thanks again, and remember, you deserve time for yourself to recharge and feel your best. Catch you next time on the Knit the Stress Away podcast.